Hey, Carson.
Hey, Joyce. How's it
How are
going?
you? Long time no see. Didn't just
I know.
hastily put anything together just now.
No, this has been done for a long time, and it's
Yes,
very smoothly. So,
we're incredibly prepared. Welcome to the stream, everyone. My name is Joyce. I'm the head of developer relations at Postman, and I'm calling from, oh, it's very sunny right here, from San Francisco. Carson, do you want to introduce yourself?
sure. Hi, I'm Carson Hunter. I am calling in from Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm a technical enablement architect here at Postman.
Yeah, I know. Technical enablement architect. I kind of know what you do, but can you just refresh our memory?
Yeah, so I feel like I give a different explainer every time, but we do a lot of kind of almost DevRel for our internal team. So we create a lot of Postman workspaces for our solutions teams to show kind of customers what's possible with Postman. We host webinars with our product advocacy team and do some kind of custom tooling for customers who need a more custom solution with the Postman API.
Yeah, so you're creating a ton of content and everything. And I forgot to turn the chat on. So here we have some folks joining us from LinkedIn, from Twitch, from all different places. Tell us where you're from. I'm in San Francisco, Carson's in Atlanta. And it's been a while since I've done a stream, and I'm excited, Carson. I feel like you and I have done a couple streams, and the last time we won't go very deep into what we're doing yet because I have want to tell you about something new from Postman. But the last time you did a stream with, I want to say Sean about Strava.
Yeah, it was actually 9 months ago today. So on February 17th, we went into the Strava API. I love going into kind of biometric data. I don't know what it is about kind of quantifying your exercise and stuff, but it's really interesting. So we looked at the Strava API, created like a visualizer of I have your GitHub contribution chart. We did the same with our Strava data to kind of track our workout contributions that way. And I introduced a little project that we didn't get to go into that we'll go into more today.
Well, that was Strava, and I feel like you and Sean are very athletic, active people. And so I don't track my biometrics that hard, but this is a, can you guys see that? Do you know what this is? Can you even see that?
Yeah, it looks like kind of reflective, galaxy sort of purpley.
Yeah, so this is a Fitbit. I don't even know what model. It's so old. And people tell me that it looks dated and I should get a new one, but I don't care. It just monitors my steps. And I think I am also interested in my own data, my sleep metrics, my steps. I don't really care about my breathing and my efficiency, but wow, we have people calling in from all over. Fresno, California is probably the closest to me. I saw Pune earlier. Yes, we did have a proper guess. This is a Fitbit. I don't know. If you know what model this is, let me know. Carson, what are you going to be using?
So I have an Apple Watch, which I'm always just trying to get data from because the Apple integration's a little hard. So we did it with Strava. We're going to talk about what's possible with the Fitbit API today, but yeah, so it probably tracks a lot of the same things that your Fitbit does, but just different brand. They're competitors, I'm guessing.
Same thing. Yours was probably just as affordable as mine if I know Apple. Okay, so before we get too deep into the Fitbit and our competition for our fitness, let me share my screen, and I'm going to leave I'm going to leave the chat on for now. Let me know, Carson, if there's anything interesting or any questions coming through the chat. But one thing I do want to bring your attention to, I'll drop a link to this. We did just have a new release that's kind of interesting for people that are, I saw there were some testers, people that are in automation or any of the operation side of running collections. We now have scheduling your collection runs. So I do have an example here. Can you see that? Is that big enough?
Looks good, I think.
So I have a collection here. I was just doing this demo for something else. But if I go to the three dots, I can run a collection. And for some of you Postman power users, you know the collection runner, right? You know how to run all of your requests in a collection. Now you have this schedule runs button here, right? You can periodically run collections at a specified time on the Postman cloud. And so you have all this configuration information. You can have run frequency, pair it with an environment, put in the local file if you want. And then what I like to do here is if any of my collection run fails, I like to have Parlemy get notified. Like, you know, we can schedule it so that it's at midnight his time and then let Parlemy know what is going on. Okay. So that's a scheduled run. And I did have a couple runs. If you haven't seen it before, I'm going to click into the collection. This is where we have our collection level stuff like authorization variables. Here's runs. And you can see your history of collection runs here. You can see I had some fail. Oops, behind our head. I don't know how to bring this up anymore. There we go. Oh, back down again. Well, trust, I did have some test failures here in the back. So I dropped a link to that in the chat. This is automating your API testing by scheduling collection runs to run on Postman Cloud. So that's exciting. That's the only one that I wanted to talk about. Is there anything off the top of your head that, if there's anybody in the chat that had like questions about stuff that released recently, go ahead and add that. But I'll just take my desktop off. Okay, so I've been preparing for this challenge by walking. Have you been doing anything?
So that was the intent, and I fully meant to, but it's gotten really cold. And so I have been like being active, but one kind of caveat that I figured out, I thought it would take my Apple Watch data, but it only takes my phone data. So when I've been working out, I don't hold my phone all the time. So it looks like I haven't been doing, anything at all on days when I get like 400 steps, but been trying.
Oh, so that's a difference between Fitbit and Apple Watch. Is the Apple Watch is actually a device, but then your phone is also a device to measure certain activities. Like Fitbit has an app, but my phone isn't measuring.
Yeah. So since Apple Watch and Fitbit are competitors, it's not going to sync with your Apple Watch. So I downloaded the Fitbit app. I had a Fitbit a long time ago, and so it'll sync with your phone's like accelerometer and internal gears, but it's only going to track that, and it won't integrate with any of your other hardware. So you can still use the Fitbit app if you don't have like the little wearable, but just some limitations there.
Well, and we're not here to review or to encourage you to buy any of these. Willie Geertz does have a little hack for testing Fitbitty things. They like to mount the Fitbit to the dog, so I would call that cheating. I didn't even think of that. I could have just put this on her tail or on her collar or something.
Yeah.
Oh man, it would have been like looking at my data.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, let's dive right in. We are going to be, Carson, are you doing the work?
Yeah, I'm going to be driving. We'll poke around in some workspaces.
Okay, sounds good. So we're just going to, explore our data, potentially see who wins in some manner?
Yeah, I set up a challenge for us. I figure we'll explore kind of what's going on with Fitbit API first, and then I've got like a Slack challenge that's inspired by Wordle. We'll see if it works. See who's been active.
Okay, so we'll drop a couple links in the chat so that everyone can follow along. Let me bring Carson's desktop on the screen, and I am going to take chat off. Continue to ask your questions or help us. If we get stuck, please do help us in the chat. I'll be keeping an eye on that, but in the meantime, I don't think there's enough room for us to really get in the weeds, so taking that off. Okay.
Sweet. So For the purposes of this live stream, I have kind of two workspaces set up. I have this Fitbit live stream workspace. Joyce, I'll give you this in the chat. So if anyone wants to follow along, kind of everything we'll be working on is in here. But I made us kind of our own team workspace so that we don't have to worry about, accidentally exposing any tokens other than what's on the screen. So if we accidentally save anything, it's kind of contained within our team. But it's all got the same stuff. And I figure we'll start with just the Fitbit web API since there is a lot here. And so Joyce, you sent me a collection of someone who's already kind of filled out this Fitbit web API collection that you found on the Postman public network. I had navigated to their Swagger page earlier, and it looked like maybe they'd added some endpoints since that first collection had been created. So I took this Swagger JSON file and imported it into a Postman API, put the schema file in here. For now, there seems to be some sort of error that I can't identify, but at one point I was able to generate this from that definition file. So that's kind of how I got this.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, there's so many ways to find public APIs. Like, I always try to check and search in the top to be like, oh, what is there? Has Fitbit already created something? Yeah. And then you're like, sifting through their docs, and then sometimes they have a Postman collection there. Sometimes they have an open API file. And then sometimes you convert it and it's not clean, or it's just it doesn't make any sense to you. Okay, Willie Geertz is having a question. What are we doing? Are we working with a general health platform? So we have different devices, but I think today we're using the Fitbit API. Carson has a previous stream where she was working with the Strava API, and it was like bonkers. People are so interested in their own health and biometric data. I don't know if that's the right word, biometric, but yeah. So today it's Fitbit API. Okay, let's go.
Cool. So Joyce and I are already we've done some setup in this workspace, but I want to, back up in case you want to, explore the API as well. So Fitbit has a pretty robust developer, set of resources. They've got guides and references and tutorials, but the first thing you'll want to do is register an app. So I've taken some screenshots so that I'm not exposing all of my client credentials. But once you register an app, you're going to come to a page like this after you've entered all of your info, and you're going to get credentials like a client ID, a client secret, redirect URL, things like this. And these are kind of the typical things you'll need to authenticate with OAuth, which is the type of authentication mechanism they use. And if you're going through that process right now, they also have this OAuth 2 tutorial page that I found invaluable when trying to debug this app, because Joyce, I'm sure you've played around with a lot of APIs. I've never seen something that's quite walking you through it in this way to help you get set up with OAuth. And I'm definitely still not an OAuth expert, so it's been very helpful.
I think any public API that uses OAuth or allows their developers to OAuth, you cannot do enough to help your users figure out how to get that implemented. Not just from getting an okay, but then rolling it into your own apps. Give me videos, give me this cool little page here that allows me to interact with my token or regenerate my token or see what's going on, or even teach me about OAuth. Neat. Okay.
Yeah. You cannot spell it out plainly enough for, beginners like me, new to the OAuth space. So what's really cool is when you get to this page, they already have kind of all of the credentials that are specific to your app. They've got it filled in here. I've blocked them out so that, I'm not exposing everything. And then you can go through, check which scopes you want. So I've already set my key to be read-only. I'm not going to be writing any data since I'm not I don't have an accelerometer I'm going to be porting into here. So you can choose which of these you want to allow the data to be read from. You can put in how long you want your tokens to be good for. And then it generates this URL for you that you click, and then you're able to kind of get a code which maybe we'll show that in a little bit. It kind of walks you through like, this is the part where you'll copy and paste, and then you paste your code in here, and then it will generate a curl request for you that you can either import into Postman, or you could run from your command line. You run that, and then you're able to get your access token, your refresh token, things like that, and it just walks you through it step by step. Copy here, paste here, and it's been very helpful to get things set up.
This has been heavily redacted. We're actually getting a little bit more buttoned up about not leaking our secrets. Very nice, Carson.
Yeah, we'll try and maintain that through the stream, but
we'll see.
Up.
No promises.
Yeah. Okay, so what I've got set up here, we'll go back to this Fitbit web API. And they have this auth folder already that had these two kind of requests. And I've taken the liberties of giving Joyce and myself our own auth folder so that we're not kind of overriding each other when we're generating our tokens. May not be necessary, but
yeah.
So
you did folders. I would have thought like maybe did you try having like different environments? Like how did you come up with that?
Yeah, so we do have our own environments here. We have Carson and Joyce. We were just testing this out yesterday and kept, having a little bit of trouble. So the separate folders might not be necessary, but just as like extreme precaution to try and, keep our tokens generated in a consistent way. But we are using variables here so that we're not, overriding each other's values. So inside this auth request, so we're not actually sending this request yet. I've selected OAuth 2 as our authorization type. And if we go down here, before you generate, you won't have an available token. And as you go down, I've already got these filled in on the request in the main public workspace, I think. You'll put in your redirect URI for your callback URL, but this is only if you're on the desktop app. We were looking at this yesterday, and it seems like if you're on the web version of Postman, it's got a callback URL that you can't really edit. So Joyce, I don't know if you have any insight, but I'm not quite clear on what the difference is between authenticating on the web version, authenticating on the desktop version.
I don't really know what's happening behind the scenes, but I know that it is a difference between web and desktop. So it's like a web ism. In the redirect URI, it's really like I've seen people get tripped up so many dang times. It's whatever you set up as your URI when you register the app. So if you can you hover over that real quick?
Mm-hmm.
So nothing's really happening. This could be like your own personal website portfolio page. It could be like, example.com. But if you have a slash following that, you better put a slash there because that's how finicky it is.
Yeah, we came across that. And then Fitbit will give you these auth URLs and access token URLs. These are going to be, they're not specific to you. They're kind of set at the Fitbit side. And then you'll have a client ID, a client secret, and then here you can set the scope, which is kind of similar to what we saw with the checkboxes on the other page. So, we can leave all of these checked. I'm only going to have activity data on mine since my phone will only register activity data to the Fitbit app. And then you're able to get a new access token. So I'll do this on mine.
So we should rename this instead of fitness competition to activity competition.
Yeah. We're mostly going to be like looking at steps, I feel like, for the main challenge part. But Fitbit will give you really anything you want to know. So once you get a new access token here, I'm scared this is going to show a bunch of stuff once I proceed. Yep, we'll X out of that. Then you have a new token here that you're able to choose from. So I just named this one Fitbit. We've got one for Carson and one for Joyce, and then you're able to kind of switch between these as you want. And the sync token would allow you to sync it to other people in the workspace so they're able to use it as well. Does that all make sense so far?
It does. I think a lot of times in streams we only generate one token, but I think that's really interesting because like if I'm working with the Spotify API and the Fitbit API, then I can make sure I'm using my proper token and toggle with it. And we actually ran into this, like you're in Atlanta, I'm in San Francisco, and like I was having trouble, but then you were able to generate my token and then sync it to me, and then I could have access, so then I can then get actually get it working.
Yeah, definitely. It's been fun to kind of figure this out and see kind of the support that Postman has for this. Because in the Strava stream, I was doing a lot of copying and pasting in the browser, and it's nice that Postman can kind of like, synchronize that flow a little bit to take some of the manual work out if you've got everything set up right.
And that was 9 months ago.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, crazy. So cool. Hopefully we've got a code in here that I've just generated. We can start kind of exploring some of these calls. So if we look at all these different folders that Fitbit has, there's activity, and then they've got a really cool activity time series, which get activity from this date to this date, which is what we'll be using later. We've got information about, your body and weight if you're using that, breathing, cardio fitness, food and water if you're tracking that, heart rate, sleep. I know you're tracking sleep. And then
what's SPO2?
I don't know. We can look it up or maybe there's documentation here. SPO2. Main sleep, which is the longest single period of time asleep on a given night.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I do look at that for my sleep. Maybe I'll pull up on my mobile app and show you guys I'm so proud of my sleep. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of folders there.
Yeah. So it's really cool. You can get like anything you want to know. But we were poking around in this activity folder, which has a lot of fun things, even just here. So Fitbit allows you to track a lot of different types of activities. So, I did have a Fitbit back in, like 2017, where I was logging all of my different activities. So we can kind of see what is here. Maybe this is working.
I think my Fitbit might be from 2017. This is a hardy piece of hardware here. Hardy.
Awesome. So
Sport.
hope I've used, okay, this is my data. I can maybe change my views around. Whoops.
Weights. Very nice.
So got volleyball, ultimate frisbee. All of my things don't really have like a distance or anything. I'm not sure what's going on there, but kind of interesting to see, the different types of things Fitbit supports. Should we try?
It's also interesting to see how Fitbit models their data, because you're like, what does distance mean in volleyball?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if it has like a GPS that would track you, like the amount of ground covered. Huh. And I like how it categorizes that I'm walking very slowly, almost strolling.
That sounds like judgment from the Fitbit API. Well, so okay, I didn't know you played Ultimate, but some people might not know this about you, but weren't you like competitive in volleyball?
Yeah, I played volleyball in college, and then like recreationally after college. I'm really tall, so I just kind of fell into it, but yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Very tall. Yes, we will be, this recording will be on, I expect a lot of people to potentially struggle with OAuth, for example, like we did, and be looking this up. So we will have this on YouTube, the recording after. Okay. Let's see how fast you run.
Not very fast, a 12-minute mile at best.
Okay, that's about how fast I run.
Yeah, so I don't know, kind of interesting. What request should we try next?
Okay, so there's get frequent activities and then get recent activity types. Is there any difference between your data for that, do you think?
I kind of doubt it. We can see like maybe what the last ones I did was back in like 2017, because I can't log an activity type now.
That's right. Okay.
We'll see.
Oh, and there's like delete. So if you granted write access on your token, then we could really,
maybe change my running pace a little bit, amp it up.
Well, Willie Geertz was talking about putting a Fitbit on a dog, but we could also just programmatically increment your activity if we wanted to.
Yeah. Okay, it's about the same list, I guess.
Okay, do we want to look at my data?
Yeah, let's try it. So we should have, we just generated this Fitbit one for me, but earlier we were generating one for Joyce, and we'll try and hope that this works. So we got running again, weights, volleyball, sport. Oh, I'm still on Joyce.
Very good. I'm like, I definitely have not been running lately.
You've suddenly gotten into volleyball.
Yeah. I'm very short. Just, you can't tell because I'm sitting up high, but I'm very, very short.
Okay. We've selected the Joyce token. It's still getting volleyball. Not sure what's going on.
The environment that you just switched at the top is just the credentials required to generate a token, although it is including, it's the access token.
Yeah, so we need to instead use, because we saved it as an environment variable after you did that.
Yeah.
See if this works.
Okay, yes. 2 miles per hour strolling very slowly is more my speed. This is correct.
Perfect. We got some sport, general sport. We got some running, aerobics, and outdoor
aerobics. Well, another thing that's interesting about Fitbit's modeling is that they have everything in miles per hour. So if somebody, I wonder, I don't remember when I started my Fitbit, it's been so many years, but did I say like, hey, I would rather do, I don't know, miles versus kilometers? And then the actual data doesn't have that as like a property. It's literally there's only one option.
Yeah, I found that interesting too. Surely it's something you set at the user level, I guess, and it just knows to return that.
Yeah. Well, we do have a question from the audience. Is it possible to test it without an Apple Watch? So I would love to say like, no, tell your boss you need to get an Apple Watch so that you can do this activity. But I have a Fitbit. And so I have a Fitbit, Carson has an Apple Watch. So we're both using the Fitbit API to compare our data, but we have different devices.
Yeah, and it's not actually pulling any data from my Apple Watch. It's only what my phone has experienced as my phone is like in my pocket on my walk. So it won't take any data from my watch that I've logged, only my phone's accelerometer. So I have an iPhone. I'm assuming it would work the same on other platforms as well, but I don't know.
Yeah, so unfortunately, no, you don't need to buy an Apple Watch.
Could be a fun excuse if you want to.
So what about some of the other activities? Like, I mean, we're kind of like, this is so interesting. We're using an API to cobble together different lifestyles. You are iPhone. I'm actually Android, and you have different device. I have different device. I'm measuring from my wearable. You're measuring from mobile, and yet we're using the same API to run this competition, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like the middleman, like, aggregating everyone's data. And Strava, the Strava API did that really well as well. So you could use both of them, any of them. A lot of these fitness platforms are really interesting, even if you don't have like their brand of whatever technology.
Yeah, I don't know if you know what a universal API is. It's like a buzzword where it's like they'll aggregate a bunch of different providers. I don't know if this is categorized as like a universal API, but it's acting kind of like it in the sense that it's aggregating from different providers.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Okay, well, let's get to visualizing something. Let's get to determining who the winner is.
Yeah. Should we dive into the Fitbit challenge I have set up?
I think so, yeah.
Cool. So I've only been testing this with my data, so I'm really hoping that it works with multiple people.
Okay.
So kind of what the goal of this Fitbit Slack challenge is that you will eventually have, multiple people listed out with kind of like a Wordle type street counter. So are you familiar with Wordle, Joyce?
Is it the word game where you get so many tries to...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's like a target word and you guess it, and like each letter that you get right is like a green square, and you have to like use those green squares to like deduce what the word is. I just think it's like if people were posting their Wordle kind of graphics where it's like white square, green square, I just think it's a fun way to track things. So
Oh,
And
that's interesting because I would have thought that was the GitHub activity where you're trying to get as much green like, commits and pushes as possible.
yeah, it kind of works either way. It kind of like fits both models. But so either way, in this kind of graphic, the white squares means you didn't hit the threshold for activity that day, and green means that was like a quote unquote active day. And so what we've set up for this is, since Joyce and I can't get like all of our like tracked activities to like mesh together because we've got like different data models, we're both able to get a step count. So I think I set it at like, if you get like 3 or 5,000 steps in a day, that counts as an active day. And you
Wait,
can
that's not very many steps.
it's not that many, but it's like I've had less active days, you know?
Okay. Yeah, during when everyone started working from home, I realized that my steps and actually I dusted off my Fitbit because I was like, wow, I've been to the bathroom 3 times today. I ate a sandwich. I was like, it's shocking like how few steps I get. So okay, so maybe let's see if that's too low of a bar or too
Yeah.
like easy. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, so this is the goal. You can see here, I have mine set up, and we're going to try and get Joyce set up as well. So I've outlined as best I can kind of the directions to follow if you're setting this up by yourself. But what you're going to need to get started that I've already kind of got configured here is there's an environment called the new challenger template. And this will have, most of the variables you're going to need to fill in from your Fitbit app creation. So after you've created a Fitbit developer app, like I showed on screenshots, you're going to fill in, these variables, just kind of copy and paste them over, and then we'll use those. You'll also need a Postman API key because as we kind of like get our data, we need to store it somewhere. You could store it in collection variables or environment variables. I just kind of wanted to try a different approach, and I'm storing it in an example response on a Postman
Ooh.
request.
Okay.
Just
Oh,
so
I
I
know
can.
why you're gonna do that. I know.
What's your
Okay.
theory?
Well, my theory, this is what I've done before where examples power mock servers. So you would it be able to call that request with the mock URL and then you could visualize it if you want to. Okay, I can see by the look on your face that that is not why you did that.
No, but like the gears are turning, and I should have done that, I think. I just like it because like when you're storing a bunch of data in variables, it's kind of hard to see the data that you've got. And it's nice for me to be able to like copy and paste and see what data has been created. So more just ease of use. I wish there was like a prettify JSON thing.
Oh, but you know what you could do? I learned this is if you do set up a mock, then you can put an accept type header with content type accept header of application JSON, and then it'll immediately be pretty, but it's not going to be viewed. Yeah. Why is it like that? I wonder.
I don't know. There's probably like a JavaScript library where you can say like prettify before posting anything.
Yeah.
Didn't get that far. Anyway, so then we're going to like create a Slack message and send it. So you will also need a Slack app created. So it's really like an orchestra of services we're doing here. And you're going to get an URL from Slack, which is a webhook that will allow you to kind of post your data to. I created a separate Slack team just so I'm not like having to show, my work Slack instance, and it will kind of cobble together a pretty Slack message from your data and send it over to Slack.
And I do believe we have some other live streams where instead of piping it in a Slack, you might use like an SMS platform and text yourself. Or I think we have a stream on Discord. So you can, a stream about piping it in a Discord. So you can pick your flavor and then just swap out that last post call with whichever notification method you want.
Yeah, for sure. Endlessly configurable for, if you wanted to use different fitness APIs or different messaging service. So what this is going to do is it's going to get the environment for you. Let's see. I might need to fill in an environment ID because my thought was if you're running this on a monitor, and Joyce, you might have to correct me, and you save like environment variables like your access token, that's going to be lost after the monitor finishes. So I was going to update the monitor's initial value using the Postman API.
Correct. I believe when you try to save in a Postman a variable during a monitor run, it doesn't mutate the original collection or environment. So you're going to use the Postman API to then put to, is it going to be like a put call?
Yeah, we've got this put down here that will just update the environment with like our refresh token and our access token. So if we've had to refresh it, hopefully we've got those values saved.
This stream is filled with learnings. Very nice, Carson. Okay.
And it may not work the first time, but we're going to try it. So this environment ID is the environment of your specific ID. So I think I haven't filled yours in yet, Joyce. Okay, we've got everything kind of hidden secret, but to get like any ID of a Postman element, you'll look for this little eye icon, the info icon, and you're able to just copy the ID of the element, which is so nice.
Oh, so that's nice. You used to have to not be able to do that. Yeah.
Postman API work was so much harder before this. So this is great. So we're going to create a little variable here called environment ID, and we will paste this so that we can get that. Okay, so we're going to try and walk through this. So we've gotten our environment so that we're able to save things later. We're going to get the data store. This is the collection ID of this data store collection. So it's going to be different for you because in the public workspace, you're going to have to fork your own copy, and that will make it into a different instance. It's going to be a different ID. So you'll need to update that collection ID. We'll get the data store. And so what this has is we're going to get this response. And right now it only has Carson data in it. And we're going to look, and if there's no Joyce data in there, we're going to add a Joyce object and populate your data as well. So this is kind of the tricky part, which is getting the activity tracker resource. So here we're using the activity time series from the Fitbit API. So you can see our resource path is steps. So you could get like distance or steps. They have a bunch of different kind of measurements that you could get in a time series. And so we're getting it from 7 days ago to yesterday. And we're doing that in a pre-request script using the moment.js library, just kind of taking today minus 7 days, today minus 1 day. So you get like 7 full days of activity.
Oh, time trips me up.
It's not easy, yeah. But once you have that set up, I've also got an attempt at a refresh script. So Alan Helton and Danny Dayton both wrote really helpful blog posts for dealing with OAuth tokens, where, you know, usually you would put this at the collection level and it's going to check if your like refresh token is expired and attempt to refresh it before you send the request so that you've always got a nice working access token. It's been a little finicky, so
it requires a check though. It's not like a local, is it expired? It requires like, why not just get it?
Yeah.
If you're already using a call.
Maybe
it's like an easy. I mean, it all depends on the API. Maybe it's like easier to check a status versus. Ooh, I just learned a word yesterday. I think this applies. I think this is idempotent. Where if you're checking, like there's not going to be any side effects versus like if you immediately, it might be more taxing on the servers. Okay, cool.
Right. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't have to pronounce that one, but you did it well.
Wait, can we hear you say that word?
I don't think so.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so we've got our access token. It should be Joyce's. We'll send this. Hope that we got a good response. Yay. So we've got Joyce's steps going. And now.
Wait, that's my steps? Ooh, look at my row 13. Yeah, that sounds about right.
We definitely set the threshold too low for you. Cool. So here we are, there's a lot of JavaScript. It's not the cleanest, But what we're doing is kind of taking the last 7 days, figuring out if the value is greater than the threshold. And then if it is, we'll give you a green square. And if it's not, we'll give you a white square. And then it's kind of building that Slack message in there. And now we're updating the environment with the refresh tokens and things. And so now hopefully if we run this, let's see, invalid API key. There should be a collection ID. No, I'm not sure what is up with that.
The Postman API changed their naming of variables from, well, UI collection UID to ID, but then it that's weird.
Yeah. Invalid API key. Okay, this was working before, but we don't really need to get this one. Let's try and send the Slack message and see what comes through. So I'm going to check my Slack if I can find the window. Okay, I'm going to bring this over. See if I can make this bigger. We have 2 entries, and Joyce, you killed it. Benefits of having a dog that you walk every day. You need to get one. But
Wait, what did you set the threshold at?
I think, let's see. I set it here. We've got, if it's greater than the threshold. Oh, I set it at 1,000, which, not very much.
Carson.
I'm telling you, this isn't tracking all of my.
Oh my gosh.
And I have an indoor treadmill that I do walk on, but I just don't hold my phone the whole time.
Okay, acceptable. Oh my, I was shocked. I was worried for your
health. I'm
not
as bad as this is making me seem.
Okay.
So yeah, this is cool. I'm so glad this works. I'm very relieved. But you can see we've got our Taylor Swift on a treadmill icon as motivation, and we've got kind of a count of everyone's active days. So the idea is that, you would run this maybe, so everyone's going to set up their own monitor for this. You'll take the Fitbit Challenger collection, you'll set up a monitor, we'll create a monitor, we'll say this is called Joyce, we'll do the Fitbit Challenger setup, and then you'll choose your environment. And everyone can set up, a monitor with the same collection using their own environment, and that will run it with your values. And then maybe you run it every Monday at 8 a.m. and I'll run mine at 9 a.m.
And then send notifications to Arlemy.
I'll spare them this time. And then you would send your Slack message after everyone's data has been gathered. Maybe every Monday at noon, you get an update on this week's challengers, who's been active over the past week. So we are out of monitor calls on this team, so I'm not able to actually show you without just using the collection runner.
Well, you could also do the scheduled collection runs that I showed you at the very beginning that just released on Postman. So you could theoretically schedule it. You know what I just thought of? You're using Slack, but not everyone uses Slack. And we talked about you could pipe it into Discord, you could pipe it into whatever you want. You could also pipe it into, I think this is an off-label usage of monitors, but you could pipe it into the notification system, hard code your monitor to fail, but then report back on the data that's, well, no, I don't know if you could do that. Okay, never mind. Let's move on.
I like the thought. I think I'm on the V9 desktop app, so I don't have probably the runs.
Okay.
But that's a good idea. Do you know if scheduled runs count against your monitor calls?
I do not know. I can look that up. I'll look that up, yeah.
That's a good idea.
Wait, can I see it then if I'm on the web?
You should be able to, and I might have it on the web.
You're running it on the data store collection?
Yep. Okay, so I have runs here. I switched to the web version. I go to scheduled runs. Let's see if I do run, schedule a run, Send the Slack message.
Okay, we have confirmation. I will say that Willie Geertz doesn't work at Postman, but purposefully sending bad emails to a mail server that bounces is spam. Would we call that spam? If you're sending it to Arlemy, probably.
So if we run this every, what's today, Thursday at, let's say, 1 p.m.
What's midnight in London?
Can we set it to be a really loud alarm?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't really want these notifications. Okay. Can we
some DevOps engineer is watching this getting so triggered by, who cares if the monitor is failing?
My inbox,
I hear you.
Awesome. Okay. So supposedly this will run today at 1 p.m. my time, and we'll get a message to see our stats.
And the rest of this live stream is going to be waiting for that message to come in at 1 p.m.
Rolling our thumbs. Yeah. So that's kind of the setup. I think I included like a example table of I mentioned a lot of things, but as you set it up with friends, this is kind of the schedule you would run it on. So the Fitbit Challenger setup with Carson, I would use the Carson environment, run at Monday at 8 a.m. Joyce would use the same collection with the Joyce environment, Monday at maybe like 8:05 a.m. We'd run the data store collection, which sends the Slack message at like 9 a.m. so that everyone's data has already been updated. If that makes sense.
It would be neat if there was a way to kind of orchestrate all of that. Well, I mean, you're scheduling it on a monitor, so you're orchestrating it with Postman. Huh. It would be neat to have like a configuration board, because you're individually scheduling each of those, but just to see that at a higher level, that would be neat.
Yeah, that would be cool. Or if you could have like an interactive Slack message that says like, run it again now or something.
Yeah. The Slack then comes through with like a button or a link that has, can you do that in Slack?
I think you can make like interactive blocks. I haven't played around with it a ton, but
that then executes another API call, because we've done that, or I haven't done it. I feel like Danny Dainton built something that had another API call under the hood when you visualize the response body in Postman. Yeah.
Lots of places you could go with this that I did not have time to do last night.
Oh, yeah. Of course. Willie Geertz is saying using the pushover service to pipe through all sorts of messages. I'm not familiar with that. Is that like an aggregator, Willie Geertz? I don't know why I assumed your name was Willie when it clearly says Willie Geertz. Okay, so I want to see us side by side. I love the Wordle. I actually think that whoever invented that type of graph is really a genius, because it's very intuitive. But I would like to see an actual comparison, a mathematical comparison of our numbers side by side, just so I can understand how much I won by.
Yes, that we need to know. The fans are demanding to know. So I wonder if we take this and maybe this will get our data of the last 7 days, and we'll just like create a new request in here since we already have the request we know that we like. We'll call it the showdown. Okay. And now let me grab that JavaScript that was setting the variables for the last 7 days.
You know what would also be interesting? I will stop spitting ideas after this one more idea, but yeah. I was purposefully trying to walk more because I knew this stream was coming up. But I bet if you shifted the time period to like the week prior, I wonder what that would look like. Because you clearly were not trying.
Ouch. Or if we could do it in the summer when I liked to be outside.
Oh, how cold does it get in Atlanta?
It's pretty cold right now. It's like 40s or 50s maybe.
Oh, I didn't even realize it got so cold down there.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll add in these parameters. Base date is 7 days ago. And this is yesterday's date.
I like that they have those relative. Wait, you're calculating it, aren't you?
Yeah, but they do
Okay.
allow you to say like from this date to this date, whereas with the Strava API, I think you had to get like all of your activities ever, and you had to kind of like, I don't know. I had to like do some manipulation because I couldn't figure out how to do
Wow.
it with the API.
Well, at least they had an API.
Yeah, very true. So let's see if we can get some data back first. Access token for Carson. Where is my response? Okay. Expired token. Nice. Okay. Can I do this one? Maybe use my saved token here. No tokens available.
Oh, you're on the web.
Oh, that's right. That would be why. Okay. Okay. So hopefully, if we use OAuth 2, available tokens for, I think this Fitbit one is my most recent one. Let's try it. Errors. Resource. Oh, we need steps as our resource path, or else it doesn't know what data we want.
Okay.
Cool. So,
and for those that are following along at home, like you might have missed it, we just switched from the web version where we went because that's where the latest version of Postman is, and then we were looking for collection runs history, but we switched back over to desktop because Carson had already generated a token there, but possibly hadn't synced it. So it was then super local. It was only on the desktop app. Neat. Okay.
Nice. Good catch. So let's save this data so that we can attempt to compare. We'll call this Carson. We'll just call this response. And we'll get this activities tracker steps.
You know, you can tell when somebody learned to code by the way they initialize variables.
Yeah. I learned JavaScript by just like looking at other people's JavaScript code in Postman. Like I originally learned Java. I learned JavaScript just by using Postman. So I'm sure it's not like up to standard.
Oh, I didn't know that you were Java. We'll have to have a Java showdown with you and Arlemy.
Hopefully not. That'd be another embarrassing one for me. Okay. So let's save collection variables. We'll call this Carson. And then hope that saves. I think that will give us kind of this array of data. Something went wrong. Tracker. Maybe this needs to be referenced like this. We need to set the collection variables, not just generally reference them. Okay. So if we go here and hope that we have some Carson data, we didn't stringify it. So it's just object, object, object. So we'll do that.
My favorite object.
Very easy to work with. Okay, try this. See. Okay, we've got some data here. And then I guess we'll just do the same thing for Joyce. And we will use Joyce's access token, which is saved as a variable. Okay, this looks like yours. And hopefully we've got some Joyce data saved. So how are we going to see this side by side? We can do a table with our cumulative. We could just print out our cumulative steps for the week. We could see a table with a column for Carson's steps, Joyce's steps, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yes.
What do we think? Okay.
And then a third column that then takes the mathematical delta between the two, and then it turns it into an emoji.
Yes.
So if it's like, if theoretically, if somebody were to wallop another one, then they should get like an emoji.
I love emoji grading systems, actually. Okay, so I think I had started a.
Should we be UX engineers? I feel like that was like a UX. Pretty good.
I think we should also be on the committee that decides the new emojis.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And colors. So Willie Geertz wants colors.
Yes.
Okay,
Great.
get ready with your hex codes, Willie Geertz.
Okay. So I'm going to.
Hi, Gabor. We're just getting, we're really getting into the thick of it. We're under showdown, and we are now pulling both of our data, and then we're going to compare it side by side to see who is the winner of them all.
It's a great mystery until we're able to visualize it. Okay, so we're getting our response. We're no longer saving our collection variables because we already have those, but let's get the data we've already saved. We'll get Joyce. I haven't fully thought this through, so we might have to do some manipulation.
Yeah.
Carson. This is kind of a table I've pulled from a different visualizer, so we'll have to update it. So this already has some headers that we'll need to replace. So our headers need to be Carson and Joyce, I guess.
And like date or like day.
Yeah. If we have Carson and Joyce as the columns, should we have each day as the row? I'm not sure if that's going to work, but we'll try.
Yes, Willie Geertz, why would we open a new tab when we could do everything in Postman?
I refuse to use any other program. Okay, and so table data should be the date, time, and value as we iterate through everything in the response. I'm not sure if that's going to work, but we'll try it and see what the first outcome is.
Okay, so you're just grabbing the properties in the
yeah. We'll need to have, Carson value and Joyce value. And then we should have the date as a column. You're right. It's hard to visualize.
Oh, well, we're about to.
Okay. The date and then Carson value and Joyce value.
What's Carson value and Joyce value?
So it would need to be my steps for this day and then your steps for this day. So we're going to have to combine these two data objects, I think. Right?
Combine it and then put property Carson and Joyce. So it's Carson.value and Joyce.value. Okay, yeah. Yeah, you can only, what? Yeah, you're going to have to combine it.
Yeah, there's got to be a better way, but.
Yeah, and John just joined us as well from LinkedIn. The tension's high. We are pulling data from our last 7 days to compare our steps. Carson's about to jam 2 data objects together so that we can have one object to then parse and visualize in the Postman visualizer. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful table filled with emojis and colors, conditional formatting based on who walloped who. So you joined at just the right time.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have compliments. Sorry, Carson, please continue working.
Okay.
But I will give a shout out for Willie Geertz is giving a shout out for Carson. like unbeknownst to me, this is really a pretty meaty stream that we're doing here. We did look at monitors. We looked at scheduled collection runs, which is brand new from Postman. We're looking at visualizers, and we're kind of thinking through the logic of how to send notifications. We're using Slack, but like I think Carson said this word earlier, and I really liked it. It's like it's an orchestration of APIs. So poetic. You write poetry?
No, that's the only poem I've ever written.
Orchestration of APIs. It's beautiful.
I'll watch it later. Okay. My thinking is that we'll create, one object called all steps, and we're going to iterate through Joyce's array of her activity tracker steps, create the date time, and then all steps for your value equals I guess this needs to be an array that we create. We'll create the object inside here and create each day. So one day.
Yes, because I think the template that you used for the visualizer does iterate through an array.
Yeah. So, and then we'll days push one day. Each day object will have a date time, Joyce's steps, and we'll then again iterate through the days, find the date, add in my steps. Is there an easier way?
So what does the array, maybe you can like comment out a row and just show what you think that the array looks like, because I would have thought you need a identifier for Carson, right?
Yeah, so we're iterating through yours. If we could go through, there's got to be like a JavaScript function to be like, get Joyce's value for this date, and we'll create an object that has,
Oh. So right now, on the right, you have what Joyce and Carson look like, right? I can't really quite see. Is it an array of objects?
Yeah, this is an array of objects, and right now it's all your data. And so we need to add in a value for my data as well into the same
Or
object.
it could look like oh my God, can I do this on your screen?
Yeah.
Where are you?
I'm in the showdown.
Okay, let me find you in the showdown here on my machine. Where's the showdown? Please give me the hierarchy.
Web API activity showdown.
Okay, I see you. Okay, let me start typing and let's see if you see me typing. You're under the tests tab.
Yeah.
Okay, what if, riddle me this. Oops. Oh, how come? Oh, I have to save each time. So it's not real time. Okay, so there. Huh? Oh, it's not. How come you don't see me? Are you in the desktop?
I'm in the desktop. Should I switch to the web?
I don't know. Let's test this out. We're totally testing this out.
I don't see anything in the test tab here.
Let me hit save again. Let's see. Oh,
no, I haven't. I have a conflict, so let me discard my changes here.
It was me. I'm the conflict. Scroll. There it is. Look at my empty object. I'm on row 18. Okay, so this is what I was thinking. It's going to be an object with Carson property. Sorry, you can't see yet because of just how it works. Hold on 1 second, and then I'll save.
Willie Gert says, this just became a show all features of Postman stream, and I would agree.
Okay, I just hit save. Do you see what I wrote on 18?
Yes.
So that's how I would picture. There is a property called Carson with then an array. And I think what you could do is iterate on the response.carson, and then iterate on the response.joyce. Hey, Willie Garretts, can you help us out here?
You want to just help us write the code?
Yes, please help us write this code. Alternatively, just save it as an array with a property called who, and then it's Joyce or Carson. Gosh,
Yeah.
I'm not good at visualizing data.
It takes me a couple tries and I don't have to like do it on the air. But I promise I've done this before.
Here, let's start with one. Let's start simple because I think we're both having trouble visualizing the data. Let's start with a Carson table.
Yeah, okay. So I think we already have. So if we've got, we've already got like Joyce. We've got the Joyce data. Here, we've got data, we'll get date, and then we'll take up this header. We'll say Joyce's steps. We're getting date time. We'll take out the Carson value, and we're just getting value because that's what it's called in the response. And now we'll iterate through each of those. And we'll pass in not the response, but just Joyce. So hopefully, of course, no data. Let's see. Let's log Joyce and see what we got.
Log Joyce.
No data.
Oh, it's because you're in web. I think it's because you're in web and
Okay.
you had everything messed up in web.
That's true. Okay, now I'm back in the desktop. So let's see. Let me copy over what we have here. Sorry for all the window switching. I'm sure this is. Okay. I guess this didn't save. That's okay. Due date, Joyce's steps, date time, and then just call this value. Pass in Joyce. Let's see. Okay. No visible errors. Okay, we've got the start of a table, but nothing.
Oh, no
yet.
data. Okay, okay.
Okay. Did it log Joyce? So we've got 7 entries. We've got date, time, and a value.
How are you passing it through to the visualizer when you initialize?
I think because I didn't change this,
Joyce.
it was saying.
Yeah.
So let's see. Okay.
Yay!
So we can see like your most active date was the 10th, I guess. Or no. Okay, sort of the other way. The 12th. It's kind of a fun way to visualize it.
That's a nice table.
Yeah. Cool. So adding in the other data.
Oh, I know how to do it. I know how to do it now that we've had it. So you're sending in Joyce, right? So that you can iterate on each Joyce. But oh no, I lost it again.
I could iterate through Carson in here and just added another data row.
No,
assuming
because you're doing hashtag, I can't remember the name of that. You're using handlebars.
Yeah.
You need to iterate on each data, and then it's going to be data.carson.datatime. So let's go down to the bottom where you initialize.
Mm-hmm.
And then in that input, it's going to be data, open a new, new line. Just delete Joyce and make a new, I wish I could do it, but then I jacked it up last time.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is going to be data equal, and then object. It should be object. Start a new object there. Yep, and then it should be Joyce. And then that's going to be date time, colon. Yes. Sorry, it should be another object there. It's a deeply nested object so that you can access it with dot notation.
Oh, okay. So we'd have date time and value.
Yeah, yes. And oh my gosh. I think this will work. However, I wasn't checking the comments and now I have a bunch of here, let's see. Okay. So Ian Douglas is saying, let's try this. Okay. Ian Douglas is saying, let's try the Slackity Slack to help us. And then we have all sorts of helpers. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone.
Okay, let's see if this works. Oh, and we're doing new things. So I don't know. Let me send it to you in this thing. Hopefully you see that. And we also have a LinkedIn user saying perks of having a dog. You can walk up to 12. So I don't know what's the difference between kilometers and steps. This is steps, by the way, LinkedIn user. This is not at all kilometers. But yes, it's definitely because of my dog. And then Willie Geertz is suggesting to merge. Oh, we could have probably done a little merge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Into a multi-dimensional array object setup. Well, that sounds smart. Okay, sounds smart. Let's do it.
Awesome. So Ian sent us this code where we have days, which seems like it's got like, the Joyce array and the Carson array. We're iterating through Joyce. For each day in Joyce, append X. We're doing the same thing. Okay. Try this. Pass in days. So we just pass in the variable days here?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, not all
because it's already been formatted. Yeah. Oh, and Ian is saying erase the other days declaration.
Okay.
Well, I'll do declare.
Awesome. All of our cool. So now I've got days, and we'll iterate through days. We'll need to get, we access these days Carson and days Joyce.
Yeah, how do we do that? Because right now it's per row, right? We're in a row.
Could be like this.
Let's see.
Days Joyce append is not a function.
So what is days.carson?
Would this be Joyce and then access this index, append Joyce day value?
Okay.
Be like this, or just value, you think? So here we're logging days, right?
Ian says you don't need append if you're using days.joyce index X.
Okay.
So get rid of append.
And try this.
And get rid of the append on the Oh, sorry. He said instead of append, use something like equals.
Okay. Days Joyce. Maybe equals.
Oh, look, you could just copy and paste this if you wanted to.
Okay.
Joyce index X dot value.
Okay. Same for Carson.
You have a clackety keyboard. Clackety clack.
Okay. Let's see what we're getting here to kind of see the layout.
Oh, Ian's gonna mess us up. He's trolling us here, I'm sure.
Okay. So now this is our days that's been printed. We've got Joyce, we've got your values, we've got Carson, we've got my values.
Oh, yeah. That makes more sense. We don't need the days because they're the same days, apples to
Yeah.
apples.
Okay. Nice. So we'll pass in days here, and then we'll just need days Joyce and then Carson. Will that work? No.
You're iterating on each day. So would it be oops. Would it be instead of Joyce, would it be days dot Joyce?
Yeah. We'll need
under the TD.
Oh, okay.
You're iterating on each.
We got two arrays here. So should we iterate through Joyce and iterate through Carson? Since we got two arrays.
I see.
So start our row before this. Because days isn't an array. Joyce is an array, and then Carson is an array.
Days is an array?
Days is not an array. It's just two nested objects.
Okay, then on the row 52, you should be iterating on.
Iterating through Joyce.
More help from Ian. Each will need an index position or something to pass into lines 54 and 55. Index?
Mm-hmm. I think I have done something like that before. We can Google handlebars. Something like that. This is how the real coding goes down.
I bet it's a comma.
This at index. Like this.
I haven't done that before. We have a very, very good suggestion from Willie Geertz. Drop DB.
Excellent.
Thanks for clarifying that was a social engineering test.
Okay. Let's try it.
It is kind of a good point by Willie Geertz, though. Like, I constantly copy and paste stuff from Stack Overflow or like npm install stuff that I'm like,
Yeah. So let's just pass in days.joyce and see. We're iterating through Joyce, getting the index. Still no.
The way you set it up, I think, was correct. So if it's just passing through days, you should be able to iterate on each days.joyce for one column and then iterate on each days.carson for the second column.
Okay. So here you think days.joyce?
If you pass in days on row 67, yeah.
Okay.
It should be days Joyce, and then you can then reference the I don't know what the index is, but in the TD you should be able to say, what did we say? Data value or whichever.
Okay. Maybe just this, since we'll be on the index. Will this get like the index number? Let's try it. Maybe this is something we have to come back to.
What is this though? Change this to, what did we call it? Can you expand the console? Is it value?
I don't think they have names now, just an array of step counts.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that's what they were saying about using it by index.
Mm-hmm.
You should end up with a new array, date, Carson value, Joyce value. It doesn't, I don't know what that means.
So maybe our array would have like an object that has the date, the Carson value, the Joyce value. If we were to merge
Our array would have an object with those three things.
Yeah,
Day, Carson
object.
value. Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's go back. Okay, so up to you. I'm fine solving this. I feel like if we all together put our brains together and start with how we format the data at first.
Yes.
Ian is saying you need an array of objects, not an object with arrays. See, this is yes. So if we iterate on each, so in the handlebars, if it's each response like we were doing earlier, then it should be an array of objects.
Mm-hmm.
However, if we're now, oh my sweet Jesus. If we wanted to access it by iterating on each days.joyce, that is an object with arrays, nested arrays. Okay. I mean, we could, what do you want to do, Carson?
Maybe we'll finish this up, we'll add some emojis, and we'll tweet it out once we've got the magical showdown table going.
Okay, all right. That's ambitious.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does the data look like when we form it? Okay, so days equals, it's an object with property Joyce and property Carson. And then, does anyone, what is Carson right now?
Carson is also an array.
I mean, on row 7, what is Carson?
This is, just this array of date, time, and value.
Carson is an array.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Ian says he's got another Slack update.
Oh. Where? to Carson, you check your, oh, okay. Ian, did you send it? Bring Ian on screen.
Yeah.
He's probably eating a sandwich.
Celebrity call. Okay.
Oh, it's in a private message. Okay, sorry. I'm not all over the Slacks here. Okay, here. Try this. Drop BB. Replace lines 8 through 15.
Okay. So this is probably what we're going for, right? Nope. So we've got days array for X and Joyce, days append Joyce, which is Joyce.x, and then Carson, the index of Carson. Okay, let's log this and see what's going on.
Oh.
So he's using the same index to grab data from
Smart.
Yeah. Smart. Yeah. Okay, days append. They really just
said remove 8 and 12.
Remove 8 and 12.
I mean, that's
Maybe push. That work better? This is our days array now. Okay, we've got a Joyce date time and a Carson date time value. So this might work. Are you seeing this?
Yeah, that looks good.
Let's try it. So we've got days, and we'll need to iterate through days.
Oh.
And then we could do Joyce value, Carson value.
Yes. If this fails, Willie Geertz has some pseudocode for us as well.
Okay, let's see.
No
No
data!
Wait, okay. So we're creating for each day.
Oh, wait, what are you passing through on the initializer real quick? Days, okay.
Days is an array, and we'll need to get Joyce, date time, and Joyce value. I'm sure we're making something simple.
Wait. Hold up. Does somebody eagle eye spot the error? How does handlebars unpack each days into Joyce Carson objects? You should be able to access it by property name.
Oh, it says maybe this dot Joyce dot value. So we're getting like the current iteration and then going into those objects.
Where are you getting this from?
That's
Do we
what
need to pass through the index, do something with the index to use this? I've never used this.
Are they doing this? This is all a wild guess.
That looks gross.
Let's go back to the docs. So, each array.
What is this? It's the thing that you're iterating on at that index?
I think so.
So can you do this dot the thing, property name?
So here we're doing this
Dot Joyce.
dot Joyce.
Carson, I'm going to have to pee soon.
Yeah, we might have to cut this off. And
Okay.
Yeah.
We will figure this out, this handlebars syntax, and we will have a beautiful, beautiful table, and then we will truly understand the magnitude with which one person absolutely dominated the other person in this steps challenge, this activity fitness challenge. I'm going to take your thing off the screen, and I'm going to bring on chat again. So thank you very much, Ian and Willie Geertz, for helping us through that. I feel like we're going to kick ourselves once we figure out what it was. But let's just close the session now. Do you want to just recap what we did for the folks that joined late?
Yeah, so we took a look at the Fitbit API. We talked about what's possible if you do have a Fitbit band, if you don't have a Fitbit band. We did kind of some OAuth magic within the Postman app. We looked at kind of the OAuth steps that Fitbit provides, which are very nice if you aren't, setting it up with Postman. We looked through the different types of data Fitbit's sending back. We got our recent activities, our favorite activities, and then we set up a Fitbit challenge, which kind of has a contribution graph of the active days for each person. So ideally, you'd run those on a monitor, and each week you'd see who the active winner is on your team.
I like that. I think that for me, I'm naturally fairly active even without my dog, but I like the incentive of just kind of somebody holding me accountable. And if Carson is like getting 1,000 steps a day, then I'll be like, I'm doing great. But if Carson was like, doing 8,000 steps a day, then I would be like, okay, I got to step it up. I need to like get out and do a little bit more. So I'm going to drop a link to the workspace that Carson you created. And you can see, I think you did a really great job documenting too. I constantly get tripped up on OAuth, and I think Fitbit has some API resources, but not a ton of stuff to help us bridge the gap between the documentation and actually getting something working. So next steps, I think we will just find the little bug, and then we'll be able to share the nice, pretty table of what's going on. But really the challenge is about the link that I just dropped. That is actually have a challenge with you and your colleagues, with you and your friends and your family. And I think that's pretty neat. So we always close out with community shout outs. I have somebody that I want to shout out. I'll go first, and then you be thinking about what you want to shout out. So I am going to share my screen really quickly. So this is the link that I just dropped. So check out Carson's great work with that Wordle style fitness challenge. My shout out today is for Beth Marshall. Beth Marshall is a tester in Leeds, England, and has been creating a ton of information about flows. I think we did have a major release yesterday on flows. So they've been creating some really interesting. I'll post this as well in the Slack or in the chat, but a lot of interesting things about flows. If you've never seen flows before, let me zoom in heck of a lot more right there. Like we've had a couple streams about this, and I think it's, it's not super intuitive. It's still in beta for most people. And just how can you go about doing this? This is very similar to what we did here, piping something into Slack. So shout out for Beth Marshall, super neat resources that she's creating over there in London. All right, your turn. Do you want to give your shout out?
Yeah, I'm also a fan of what Beth is doing, huge fan of her blogs. But for this one, I'm going to shout out Danny Dayton and Alan Helton. They both wrote great blogs on kind of dealing with OAuth refresh tokens, and I've just sent a link there. And they're very active in the community forum when I was searching around trying to figure out how to set this all up. So just want to send a huge shout out for all the time they've put into answering questions and writing up their findings, because it's helped me multiple times, and I'm sure it's helped a lot of other people too.
Yeah, they're both very vocal in the community. And when they hear somebody having like a lot of issues with a particular thing, like refresh tokens, they'll just write a blog post or write some code that then people can copy and paste and put into their own thing. So yeah, double that, +1 for that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's all we have for today. We'll keep your eyes on Twitter. We'll be tweeting out the true winning showdown later today. But otherwise, we'll see you next week.
Awesome.
Bye,
Thanks for
Carson.
joining us. Bye.
Bye.